Hello, I'm super excited today to be talking about mindfulness meditation. And the topic of this video is when you leave your mind alone, spontaneous bliss arises. What does this mean? Well, a long time ago, when I was feeling very stressed out about things, I watched a video, and one of the things they said in this video is we are not our mind. Our mind happens by itself. Our thoughts happen by themselves. We are the one who watches the thoughts. And just like the heart pumps blood and our lungs process oxygen, and animals know exactly where to fly to every winter and summer, our brain produces thoughts. And yes, we have some control over our thoughts. We can guide them a little bit, but we do not have 100% control over our thoughts. And when we leave it alone to do its own thing, spontaneous bliss arises. You can think of our mind like the blue sky. Our original mind is like the blue sky, but the thoughts are like clouds that come and go, and the thoughts cannot obscure our true mind. And our true mind, our true self, can be likened to nature. And in nature, everything happens in a perfectly harmonious way sometimes. So for example, when a wolf is taken out of its ecosystem, many animals and plants start to die. Just one wolf is taken out, and such a huge effect will happen in the ecosystem. In the same way, you may see interesting patterns of birds and flocks of birds flying together, almost like they are one organism, even though all the birds are very different. And the same thing can be seen in swarms of bees. And just like flowers actually need bees in order to exist, and bees actually need flowers to exist. So in a way, they are all one organism. And when bears eat salmon, they often eat a lot of salmon, leave a bit of salmon in the forest, and they hibernate in winter. And this salmon that they left behind, seemingly there is no reason why a bear would leave and waste salmon, but this salmon actually replenishes the entire forest. So by springtime, the entire forest has had fertilizer to grow with. So in the same way that we don't plan how to pump our blood exactly, or what to do with certain chemicals and foods, and how to process this, our mind is like the intelligence of nature, is like the consciousness that pervades everything. It is extremely intelligent, our pure natural mind. Our pure mind is not this fragmented thing that tries to organize things in very fragmented patterns. Like most of the time, a person's thoughts about the world are not very logical and not necessarily harmonious. It is very rare that the mind is actually nothing but positive and peaceful. There are many thoughts that happen constantly that are not very helpful, are not very productive or loving. And so the mind is not a terrible thing. I don't wish to emphasize that the mind should be repressed. Our mind is like part of nature that has a purpose and has beauty, and we should work with our mind and love it. Our mind can be very detrimental to our peace, and when we start to believe our thoughts as me and real, this can be when we start to attach too much to thoughts, and our mind starts to rule us, and we don't experience peace because we start thinking too much and we start believing every single thought as real. So what this means is that when we allow our mind to be as it is, when we say, okay, you have this thought, or okay, you have this thought, and don't judge our thoughts too much and say this is negative, this is positive, then our mind can relax and our thoughts don't have even more thoughts added to them. So we might have a thought like, oh, this is so annoying, and then we listen to that thought and we say, okay, you had a thought, this is very annoying. But sometimes this can make us feel very peaceful and relaxed. So the thing is that instead of that, what happens a lot of the time is that we listen to our mind and we start to criticize and analyze the thoughts that are already happening. So our mind says this is annoying, and then we say, oh, you shouldn't think that is annoying, this is sometimes good, what should I do with this thought, should I change it? And then we start to think, try and think positively. If we let our thoughts be and leave our mind to itself, what happens is there is a dimension of acceptance and allowance given to our mind. And when our thoughts are listened to without judgment, they start to experience peace. Our mind is less, there are less thoughts, there's less conflict in the thoughts, and there is less emotions. Our mind is not so strong anymore. We start to experience inner peace. And so this is what is meant by when you leave the mind alone, spontaneous bliss arises. When the thoughts are observed without judgment, and the mind is allowed to be negative if it wants to be negative, but not too much. And it be positive if it wants to be positive, but don't get too distracted by the thoughts. So sometimes we think, oh, just let the mind be what it wants to be, and that means that we should just let all kinds of rubbish happen in our mind. No, that's not what this means. What this means is that we should let our mind be what it wants to be, but not get too distracted. Not try and make our mind super still, super peaceful, super positive, but also not get too distracted by thoughts of the future or the past. When our mind becomes blissful and we stop thinking, we start to experience real joy and real bliss. And then we start to receive really, really positive and calm and wise thoughts. And in this dimension, everything is perfect.